Okay, again, thank you very much for sorting that out, Richard, thank you. So I'm from PTP, and as I say, we're very proud to be one of the gold sponsors of the event today. So perhaps I'll introduce myself. My name's Kevin Snelling. I'm a director at PTP, and I've got some colleagues here with us today. Chris Wallbank, who's a CLA, Dave Barr, who's a CLA and certified test stand developer, and Seamus Rafferty, who's a CLA. So just some quick facts about PTP. I'll try and keep this short because I know you're not here really to listen to me. You want to listen to about LabVIEW. We've been around for nearly 20 years. We have a very strong skill set in National Instruments tools, not just the headline ones, but the fairly obscure ones like Lab Windows and Measurement Studio. As I said, we're Cambridge-based, and we have a very long history of independent LabVIEW support. We are the sponsors and organisers of the Cambridge LabVIEW User Group, CLUG. Could I just ask for a show of hands, the number of people who have been to a CLUG event? Okay, that's quite encouraging. Thank you. We tend to meet 2 or 3 times a year, locally in Cambridge, and discuss all things LabVIEW. And that's sometimes not always positive things, but sometimes things that haven't gone well. But that's always useful experience for everybody. Okay, so in terms of what we do, essentially we're bespoke software and hardware suppliers. And we tend to plough those skills in test and measurement, control solutions, and legacy support. But it's exciting times for PTP. So this conference comes at a time that's quite exciting for ourselves, as we have recently merged with TestWorks. I don't know if anyone's heard of TestWorks. I'm sure you have. They're based in Hitchin. And we are very complementary to each other. We, PTP, are traditionally very software-based with a bit of hardware. TestWorks are the opposite, very hardware with a bit of software. But things go further than that. We've taken the combined resources of the 2 companies and purchased a couple of other companies to be part of the group. Adept Automation are experts in automation, unsurprisingly. And AGS Electronics are contract manufacturers of PCBs and assembly. So it now means that we are part of TestWorks Group. We are 5 locations across the country, with the head office at Hitchin, 2 design centres, 1 in Cambridge and 1 in Emsworth. Automation is centred at Aylesbury, and we have a PCB assembly and contract manufacturer up in Scotland. Perhaps soon to be our European office following Brexit. So, the group now is able to offer a much larger set of skill bases, so we really can do end-to-end engineering, right through from the PCB in the equipment we supply, through to the software, the hardware, the mechanical side of things. So, how can we help you? Well, I guess you guys are really all here because you want to write LabVIEW. That's what you want to get on with. But there are very few systems that contain just LabVIEW. Chances are you're going to have to do something else as well. So maybe there's some software that needs to be written. Maybe it's LabVIEW, but it's not something you've got time to do or want to do. Or maybe it's not LabVIEW. Maybe there's something useful that could be developed that isn't LabVIEW. We could help with that. Perhaps there's electronics. Perhaps you need to interface to something, talk to a piece of equipment, measure something, have some preconditioning circuitry designed. Maybe there's mechanical design, a fixture. Automation, perhaps some side of it that could be automated. And of course, all of this needs to be made and manufactured. So if you're in a situation whereby you're sort of blocked, you want to get on and write your new exciting LabVIEW, and you need somebody to help you, we're perhaps the guys to speak to, because chances are we can probably help. So if I just go on a little bit into the areas, I won't go into this too much. It's probably worth saying that we're quite unusual as an Alliance member. We don't solely do National Instruments. We do embedded database. We have quite a strong background in database design, and we're soon to be adding web and cloud development and app development to our skill sets. Electronic design, as I say, here on the right is an example of a piece of test equipment developed recently. It's titled Pulse Tester. It doesn't actually test pulses. It generates very short, sharp pulses of high current or high voltage to stress test passive components. Automation is an example of a project that we did. This is an engine head that's going in to be automatically inspected. Sorry, the video is not great, but it is a bit of interesting engineering. So that probe is going into the engine head and is looking at the valve seating to measure whether it's in spec or not. You'll see in a bit, there's a bit more detail, but again, the video gets even worse, I'm afraid. But I think that's just the excitement from the photographer, obviously, of seeing something that's working. But there you go. It's actually, and that's actually rotating and measuring the inside of that valve seating. That's probably enough of that. So just a bit boring slide. Obviously, we do hardware, lots of jigs, fixtures. Another interesting slide, partly because it's quite an interesting project, it's big engineering, but this is an inspection system we've got for a gas pipe. So, but what I wanted to get across to was that carousel that's rotating, that's all manufactured by us. So we have access to CNC machinery within our Aylesbury factory. So we can actually manufacture everything in terms of the solution. So just going to a couple of the areas that we tend to work in. Test and measurement. This is an example of a piece of test equipment developed quite a few years ago. This is for Tyco safety products. They make a flame detector that can spot a candle burning at 50 meters. A lot of effort goes into the design of that and the algorithm to make sure it doesn't falsely trigger. But of course on the production line, you can't have a flame burning, certainly not at 50 meters. So a lot of effort went into replicating a flame. So there's a black body source there that is installed on the detector vertically behind the black plate. And there's a flicker wheel. Apparently a candle flickers at about 5 hertz. And then some filtering that goes in. That's another interesting project we were involved with. A very high-end racing car simulator. We were part of a number of companies that were involved in developing a solution for this. We were primarily involved with the load control of the steering wheel and the headrest. So as you throw the car into a corner, you get a very realistic fight back from the steering wheel. The steering wheel will actually try and pull out of your hand. Your head will get pushed to one side. I personally don't think I could sit in it. I think I'd be quite ill. Legacy support, we find ourselves doing quite a lot of legacy support. That's probably just because we've been around for such a long time. This is a good example of legacy support. This customer manufactures or remanufactures camshafts. So they have a piece of equipment that's very old, 40 odd years old, and they wanted a control system to be upgraded. So we put a new control system in and gave them a LabVIEW front end, so they were actually able to do a lot more than the original system did. Right, and I'll leave you with our show-off slide. These are just some of the people that we've worked with in the past. Thank you very much for listening, and please do enjoy the rest of the conference.